Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's webinar on Lewa Wilderness. We will start in a minute or so, just seeing quite a few agents are still joining, and it always takes a couple of minutes for agents to connect in. But for those of you who don't know me, I am Anita Powell from Small World Marketing, and we are lucky enough to represent Lewa Wilderness here in the UK. The presentation will last about 20 minutes. And then, but if you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A box or chat box as I go through the presentation, and I will answer them at the end. The presentation is being recorded, so if you have to leave halfway through, don't worry, we will send you a follow-up email with a copy of the recording and all the useful information that you may need to help sell the property. But thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, and that's a great start. Thanks, Sarah. She's put in the chat box that Lewa Wilderness is one of her all-time favourite places on earth. Well, that's a nice way to start the webinar this afternoon. So Lewa Wilderness is located in the Laikipia area in the central area of Kenya. So it's about a kind of 45-minute-hour flight from Nairobi, very well accessed through the scheduled flights into Lewa airstrip. And also Lewa has their own sister company, which is actually called Air Wilderness, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later on. Laikipia is a stunning area of Kenya. It has Mount Kenya as a backdrop. And I always say this area of Kenya and this area of a safari circuit is much more of an immersive safari. You go to the Masai Mara to see that big, open, classic Kenya open savanna that we all knew, and as kids, that's a kind of quintessential African savanna you imagine. And then Laikipia is much more of a immersive safari experience. So it's about getting out the vehicle, it's about horse riding, camel trekking, walking, and the two actually twin really, really well together. And what's really exciting is with Air Wilderness, they just recently, well actually last year, they started a new shared charter flight with Scenic Air, which means you can actually connect directly from the Mara to Laikipia. Whereas before, the way the scheduled flights work, you had to go to Laikipia first and then to the Mara afterwards, which to me just didn't make sense, because you always need to appreciate the Laikipia area and the fact that it is much more private, much more varied, once you've almost seen that kind of quintessential experience that the Mara has to offer. So Air Wilderness have launched this in conjunction with Scenic Air, and I will tell you a little bit more about that flight now, or a bit later on in the presentation. So within the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, this is where it's located in terms of the wider Laikipia area. And then within the conservancy itself, there are only 5 properties in the conservancy. It's actually one of the first areas to bring tourism to this area, and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's 65,000 acres in total, and much of it is exclusive game viewing area. As I mentioned, there are only 5 lodges in the Wildlife Conservancy. So we have Lewa Wilderness over to the right of the park. Lewa House and Karafu are quite close to each other. They're on a beautiful mountainous area, very, very high hill in the middle of the conservancy. Stunning views from both those properties, as you can imagine, being so elevated. Sirikoi is down in the forest, so a very different experience as well. And the Lewa Safari Camp, which is part of the Elewana group, is over on the left-hand side, and it's probably a slightly more simple style, slightly lower price point to the other properties. But it's a very, very beautiful area, and there's only someone said Karafu. I did mention Karafu. I mentioned Karafu and Lewa Safari Camp are both part of Elewana and Lewa House. It's privately owned, as is Lewa Wilderness, and Sirikoi is part of the Roberts family, so the sister property to Richard's Camp in the Mara. Last year was Lewa Wilderness's 50th anniversary, but the Craig family, who run Lewa Wilderness, have actually been on the land for 100 years, so it's quite a momentous year for us last year. As I mentioned, the land's actually owned by the Craig family, and Will and Emma Craig still live here. I'm sure many of you have met Sasha, their daughter, over the years, doing the marketing for Lewa Wilderness. And it really is a very different safari experience. This is their home. Guests are made to feel welcome. They come and have afternoon tea on the veranda. Will and Emma are there. They're wandering around. They meet the guests. And it really has that very, very homely feel to it. So there's Will and Emma on the left-hand side with their doggies, and Yeah, Mushu, who is the manager, who's been with them for about 25 years, and he is now the main point of contact that your clients will meet. He's absolutely amazing, a really, really charming man, and has been, with the Craig family for 25 years. So knows the land, knows the property really, really well. This is an aerial view of Lewa Wilderness. So there are 9 rooms in total. There are 6 hillside cottages and then 3 garden cottages. And the whole area is very, very beautiful, very dramatic, quite big horizons, quite dry and arid. But what's really interesting, what I love, is that when you stay there, only about a kilometre down the road is their farm, which is where they get a lot of their produce from. And it's totally different. It's green, lush, very fertile. It's just amazing that these two kind of landscapes can coexist within close proximity to each other, but yet be so different. And that is where a lot of the food comes from that your guests will eat. And so this is the farm I mentioned about. And actually what they're doing now, which is a really nice addition they launched last year, is that guests now can come down to the farm. They can see where the produce is grown. They can actually have lunch in the lovely kind of sheltered area of the farm in the kind of orchard area, which is beautiful. And it's a really fun experience. And guests really enjoy coming down and seeing actually that it's a very much a working farm. They not only have the fruit and veg they grow, they also have sheep, they keep bees, they have a woodworking area as well. They are really the most self-sufficient, entrepreneurial. It's typically Kenyan and just amazing to actually see. And for guests, they really, really enjoy that. In terms of experiences, they also have a tennis court and they have a gym. They have a swimming pool as well, which is much needed, especially when the temperatures get quite high. But as I mentioned, the accommodation there's only 9 suites and 9 cottages in total. So still 6 hillside cottages. They have this beautiful view overlooking their conservancy, and then the 3 2-bedroom suites. The image below, that is 1 room. So the images, the family suites are very, very big, garden cottages. These are the rates, and we just got the 2024 rates, which I'll send to you in the follow-up as well. And then they have their stay pay offers as well, which run and are very, very competitive. So the hillside cottages, there are 6 of them in total. So they all have this beautiful view, the elevated view overlooking the conservancy, all very easy to get to, but it's also really useful for us to know if you do have clients that are slightly more less mobile, we then are able to put them into the cottage that will be most suitable for them. But yeah, all designed in the similar way, thatched, really big and open, and a lot of in fact, most of the items you see in these cottages are made on site. So as well as having a woodwork area where they make all their own furniture, they also have a weaving area where they weave the rugs. They are just incredible with what they create on the farm, and this is all part of it. And it's really, really great for guests to go and see that this isn't just a tourism establishment. This is actually, multi-faceted, multi-leveled in terms of what they offer. This is one of our twin rooms. So you see the bedroom upstairs is quite fun, and then there's 2 queen-size beds downstairs. And this is Karamushu overlooking the beautiful view. Then the family suites are brilliant. We stayed there as a family about 2 years ago now. That is 1 suite. So they're absolutely enormous. We were a family of 5, and there was plenty of space. They have a beautiful big lounge, sitting dining area in the middle. So you can easily have 2 couples traveling together. It's very, very private, and they won't feel like they're treading on each other's toes at all. This is one of the bedrooms, and obviously both bedrooms then have the ensuite bathrooms coming off the side of it as well. But really, to sell Laikipia is really about kind of educating clients on the experience that they have when they're there, and how it's a very, very different safari experience to the Mara. The big success story of the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy is their rhino protection. They have over 165 rhino now. They have 16% of Kenya's rhino. They have a mixture of black and white rhino. In fact, they've been so successful, they actually have had to, well, they've been delighted to relocate some of the rhino to neighbouring wildlife conservancies as well. So when you go on safari there, you would absolutely see quite a few rhino. I mean, almost like seeing rhinos, almost like seeing impala on a normal safari. They are everywhere, and it's really phenomenal to see, and it's amazing to see them living. When we were there was a pride of lion there and a rhino and her mother and her baby, and the baby was going right up to pride of lion. I mean, they're just so used to them. It was just incredible to see. And so the rhino is a big draw card for Lewa Conservancy, but we also have a lot of other animals. We have the elephants. So it's actually on the migration route for the elephants when they come down from the north. They come through the wildlife conservancies, they go under this brilliant kind of tunnel that's been built under the road, and then they go up to the mountains, the foothills of Mount Kenya. So it's almost like we're the highway for the elephants coming down from the north going to Mount Kenya, which is remarkable. Lots of cats, we saw cheetah when we were there, lots of lions. And just for me, what is such fun about Lewa Wilderness is just the variety of activities you can do when staying here. Really, we stayed 4 nights, and any less than 4 nights, you'd almost be pushed to try everything. They have 41 horses. They are ex-polo ponies. They're really lovely, beautiful horses. And they actually go grazing out with the game. So the game is so used to these horses. When we were there, we got about 3 meters away from a 5-day-old giraffe and a 2-week-old zebra, because the mothers were so relaxed because they'd been out grazing with the horses that morning. Obviously, getting close to bigger game, you want to be more of a competent rider. But that's Miranda, who runs oversees the horses, is also my point of contact. She helps us with the marketing and sales, so she knows really well just how to judge it in terms of the guests' experience and what kind of animals they can get near. You can see here, this image shows you the backdrop of Mount Kenya in the distance, which is just stunning. But for me, Lewa Wilderness is really a phenomenal family experience, as well as obviously couples. These are my 3 kids that were there 2 years ago, and we did camel trekking. We took them down to the Wildlife Conservancy, which again is open for any guest staying at Lewa Wilderness, which is remarkable because I know that in other parts of Africa you have to pay a lot to have this real behind the scenes experience. Lewa Wildlife Conservancy actually encourage guests to come down and spend time with the rangers and at the headquarters, because you learn so much, but also they obviously realise that then hopefully they'll get support for their work moving forward. They are amazing the way they explain what they're doing to children or to adults alike. It's just the most inspirational, enlightening experience you can have. Walking Safari is obviously great as well. This is my daughter Ella with some rhino in the background. But it's also for children, it's about, actually, because it is a home, it's about playing with their dog. It's about going down to the spring where you can catch crabs with the Maasai guide. It's about going to the school. So we always think of Lewa Wildlife Conservancy, it's not just wildlife. They have a huge impact in terms of the community around the area. They support 23 government schools, and they support 8,000 students a year. 50,000 people are supported by their healthcare initiatives as well. So their reach is massive. And if guests want to go and see that, they are more than welcome to, because they are working in partnership with the school. And then back on the Wildlife Conservancy, in terms of other experiences you can have, I mentioned briefly about the wildlife and the riding. If you had guests who are really keen on riding, they can do an experience called Ride the Wilderness, where they actually go out and they can actually camp out overnight, and they do a much longer horse ride. That's obviously for riders who are slightly more advanced, and obviously getting close to the rhinos, but riders that are slightly more advanced as well. But they also have the camel experience that you can have, the riding, the farm I've spoken about quite a bit as well, which is just a really amazing experience for guests who just within about 1 kilometre away drive down and see this very different landscape, very different ecosystem where the fruit and veg are grown, and a really fun, very a contrasting experience to the dry, arid landscape of the Wildlife Conservancy. This is their woodwork area where they make all the furniture. And then if you've got guests who are even more intrepid, then we do fly camping as well. And this is where you go walking or riding, and then you camp overnight in these quite simple but really lovely, very comfortable tents. And then you walk or ride back to the property, and that's really popular because it's just such stunning landscape. And you then go over into the hills, and it's a very, very beautiful area. This image for me really sums up Lewa Wildlife Conservancy there. It's just this huge skies, huge landscapes, beautiful big views, just the most stunning area with this backdrop of Mount Kenya behind you. Walking Wild is an initiative we've set up with the local community in the last couple of years, and this is where they do a walking safari, but they are totally led and guided by the local community, and all the funds from it go back to the local community. So this is something that actually Lewa Wilderness have really championed with the local community, and it's a really amazing experience and becoming more and more popular. So these are the rates for the fly camping and also for the Walking Wild, and then the conservancy fees as well. But I'll send you through more information about that in our follow-up email. So we mentioned briefly about visiting the Lewa Wildlife Conservancy whilst our guests are there, but actually you can also get involved in other activities if they're happening. So for example, if they're doing rhino tagging, or these are the poaching, the bloodhounds they take out to try and track any poachers, and they can, if activities like that are going on, then guests within reason can get involved as well. And then obviously I mentioned there are, they support 23 government schools, 8,000 students. They are young and old, and obviously the 50,000 individuals they support through their healthcare initiatives as well. So it is a really huge outreach initiative, not just about wildlife. Wilderness I mentioned briefly earlier when I spoke about the shared charter from the Mara to Lewa. So those of you who maybe weren't at the beginning of the presentation, Air Wilderness have teamed up with Scenic Air, and they do a shared charter between the Mara and Lewa, which is really exciting because previously the scheduled flights, you could only fly to Laikipia first and then the Mara afterwards, which just didn't really make sense in terms of your guest experience. They really want to go to the Mara first and then come to Laikipia, where they can appreciate the privacy and the more immersive experience afterwards. So the shared charter is done with Scenic Air, and it's only about $50 more than doing the schedule. So, and there's only 9 seats in the caravan. So it's really, really good option of looking at as well. They also have private charters you can take. So if you've got guests who want to fly between properties, and then their flying excursions as well. So their flying excursions are incredible. They can fly up to, this is the shared charter that I spoke about previously. And then there's the different other charter flights as well you can do. And then these are the experiences you can do, the scenic flights. So you can go up to Mount Kenya, you can do Samburu, Roteti, you can go up to Roteti Elephant Orphanage in the northern part of Kenya. And that's an amazing experience to do from Lewa as well. Lewa Wilderness is very well known for its Wacko biplane. Unfortunately, it is still without a license at the moment because the Kenya Aviation Authority changed their licensing structure, and because this is the only biplane in East Africa, they obviously have to make a bespoke license for us. As you can imagine, it's taken quite a long time. So annoyingly, it is not able to be used for guests at the moment. We're really hoping that's going to change soon. In fact, in my follow-up, I will get an update from the lodge and just be able to update you on the situation with that. It is the most amazing experience. This is quite noisy, this video, but it's a part of a snapshot of the experience I had when I was there. I should probably mention actually that when you go in the biplane, it's quite disconcerting because the guest goes in the front and the pilot goes behind. So you feel like you're flying a plane, which is quite alarming when you obviously, I am totally not equipped to fly a plane, but it was an absolutely incredible experience. So I'm really hoping the license will come through soon. And then this is just a short film we've got just to showcase Lewa Wilderness some more, which I'll send through to you for you to send on to your clients. As part of the sales process, and it just really, for me, really brings to life this most beautiful and very special place. In fact, actually, before I will share it, I will answer the questions. Minimum age for walking, that's a good question. The minimum age is 12 for walking. Well, Ella, my daughter did it younger, but actually it kind of depends on the child because we did it very close to the lodge. If you're going further out and doing, say, walking a wild one, then you have to be 12 and over. If you are just staying close to the lodge like we did, you can go from a younger age. Ella was 7 when she did it, or 8 when she did it. How are you doing with the drought and the rain started? Yeah, they have had some rains. I haven't had a recent catch up with them about the drought, but I think it's fine now. I think they have had some rain, thank goodness. I've actually just sent a quick WhatsApp to Miranda saying about the drought. The drought is still a worry, but they did have some rain 2 days ago, so fingers crossed they do need a lot more. She's giving me an update on the licensing. No news still from the licensing, but they think they're getting closer. So hopefully, fingers crossed. We will obviously, when we get the license through, we will let you all know because that's a major plus for Lewa Wilderness, which we are aware that we unfortunately can't really showcase at the moment. But that is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. As I mentioned, it is being recorded, so I will send you through a copy of the recording. And thank you so much for joining me this afternoon, and hope to see you at another one of our webinars very soon. Thanks very much.